It's been a while since we made a video about our chickens, in part because we've had a in some ways pretty brutal winter. It's been incredibly cold and then snowy and then warm for a minute and then cold again. And our chickens overall they're all here. We had one that died, I think because it was older. They're all here, but there hasn't been anything too exciting to share. They've just been basically trudging along. We've been bringing out warm water and cooking food for them every day and bringing that out. But just rebuilt this compost pile the other day when we had a thaw, and I've made other videos where we showed compost heating grains for the chickens in the winter. This one feels a little bit more extreme since the weather today, we're about 6 degrees Fahrenheit. It's supposed to be 0 tonight. And this pile, by going to the local wood chip pile and seeking out truckloads of just the wood chips that had heat coming out of them in this cold, brought back a lot of thermophilic bacteria. And by mixing their grain and lots of food scraps in here, I'm actually kind of stunned for how cold it's been, just how incredibly hot this compost is. Almost just on the edge of being not too hot, but hot enough where I don't think we need it to get any hotter than this. And it's just really sweet. Most of the chickens aren't coming out because it's just been so cold, but the ones that are being treated to basically like a steam bath. You can see the snow is like melting off of their feathers. And just like with all the other videos, we add their food scraps that we source from either here or local organic sources. I have a friend that's bringing now compost from a couple of residences here, and we're putting in the dry grain to have that sprout as well. And I don't know, just thought it was kind of sweet on an incredibly frigid morning to share this image of our chickens being in a bath. I have the door open in the hopes that the other chickens will get brave and come out. If they can make it 8 feet over to here, they can be in utopia. Just one more shot. We also have European starlings that are living in the coop a little bit. I'm not sure quite yet what we feel about that. For now, we're letting them be. There's a few that might fly out while we're filming this.
I don't know if you can see because it's very, very dark when I
okay.
go. Yeah, it doesn't show anything but like darkness.
Well, we'll pause here and I'll take another shot once we get the lighting better. But anyway, just thought I'd share the steam part, and then we'll do an update here for a moment on how we're keeping our chickens alive, if not incredibly happy, during this cold snap, and hosting some other wild birds while we're at it, it seems. Nothing to write home about as far as our coop goes. It's a little ramshackle, but it's a chicken coop, so what are you going to do? I put poly on the inside this year to keep the breezes off them. And it looks like I think they're called European starlings, which I looked up, and there's a bunch of literature that says, oh, they're the worst. So far, the chickens don't seem bothered by them, so I'm just letting them be. They're living up in a burlap sack, up in the corner, and I think inside this old bedding. And I think until we see an issue where the chickens seem stressed out about it, we'll just leave it. Maybe folks in the comments can give us some suggestions of what they think. But you'll notice since most of the chickens... You're a little rooster, aren't you? Little ones growing up. Since a lot of these chickens aren't leaving to go outside to forage, I've been bringing... I use this orange hay fork. A really nice poly hay fork I got from A.M. Leonard. And I bring each day 1 or 2 scoopfuls of piping hot compost into the coop, and then make mini piles of hot compost with grain in the coop that they can scratch. And you can see, for the most part, when it's this cold, they basically stand around until I bring them cooked. Yes, wonderful. Until I bring them cooked grain. The one thing with the starlings I'm finding is they're pooping on the backs of these chickens, which aesthetically is unpleasing. Whether or not it actually is an issue, we'll have to see. But the chickens can scratch, and they're still generating compost for us in this space. And this pile, as long as it doesn't get below maybe -10, it should stay thawed and actually create a little bit of radiant warmth for them. And you can see what we're bringing them. This is a pretty manual operation for now. Is on our wood stove all day. We have the grain that we offer them, the whole corn and millet and different grains from our bins. We cook that in water and then bring it out here for them to eat this hot mash. And I add hot water to it so that they're staying more hydrated. And not really the most ideal situation from a compost generating standpoint, but they deserve an easy time for now while they're waiting it out for it to thaw a bit. So anyway, and then the other thing, I'm sure safety-minded people will say this is crazy, but we've got our hot water system. I'll link here to another video where I talk about this in greater detail, but there's a heating element, water thawing element underneath this, and with the sticks around it and then the blanket sitting on top, it keeps it warm enough that down to -5 Fahrenheit with heavy winds outside, it still hasn't completely frozen, and they're getting some warm water. We've been adding crushed garlic to that just to keep their health up. That's how we're coping with a pretty cold situation this winter. Bunch of wild birds hanging out, you can hear them flapping around, and our chickens for the most part hanging out in the coop. But those that are taking the plunge to travel the 8-foot commute to the great outside are being able to stand on a sauna. And I feel like some of them, you can see them just standing on it like, yo, this is nice. It gives me pleasure to see that. Anyway, that's our update on our chicken system for the cold tundra of mid-January. Thanks for watching.